There are two types of people. There are those in the game and there are those that are not in the game. Now, that's not just two types of people, but that's two types of investors. And you know who I'm talking about. Those people who are in the game are the ones like you and I who are researching, who are learning, who are growing, who are constantly improving, who take personal responsibility for their lives, and who invest their money without looking for short-term gains or quick wins, with a big picture for their future to end up financially free with better choices in their lives. Then there's these people that aren't in the game, that missed the Y2K bug, that missed investing in the dot-com boom, that missed investing in the GFC, that missed out on the Sydney and Melbourne market because they thought it was too expensive or it was gonna collapse, that are missing out right now in terms of some of the best buying opportunities in parts of Australia in the last decade, that are always waiting for something else, like the government to change or APRA to reduce their lending criteria, or the Reserve Bank of Australia to drop interest rates. Like all of those things have happened recently, that are complaining, that are critiquing others, but are just shit scared and spend their whole lives sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. Now, the cool thing about being not in the game is if you don't actually try and you don't actually give a shit, then you never get hurt and you never get burnt. But the problem with this strategy is in the short term, it might look good because you're not having to get outside of your comfort zone. You're not having to grow. You're never being challenged. You don't have to overcome those fears. You know, you don't have to worry if it's the right time to buy, or if you're suffering from anxiety, or if you've got information overload, or the fact that you don't have a team of advisors around you because you're not doing anything. Now, while not being in the game in the short term can actually make you happy because of all the reasons I just mentioned, longer term, I've found that people that don't do anything with their lives, that work in jobs they hate, that don't get to spend that meaningful time with their kids when they're growing up, that don't take any risks, that don't invest, that don't start businesses, that don't chase their dreams, and that don't give a shit, get bitter, they get obsessed with their future, and their future doesn't look good. Even though in their minds it may look like this beautiful future of retirement, the reality is when they get there, because they've traded so much on the way, they never actually get to where they want to be or where they could be. They don't have choices in their life early enough to enjoy the things that are meaningful to you and I. Now, I know that is absolutely brutal, but we need to recognize this, that there's certain people that are in and there are certain people that are out, and you need to, in this lifetime and as soon as possible, identify where you sit. Because if you're sitting here and feeling comfortable now, and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, that's fine. Right now it probably feels pretty good, but longer term it creates absolute misery. Now, I've got so many good friends and members of my family that are sitting in this camp right now. Now, at 20 years of age, we all started at the same point. You know, we're all just going to uni or doing our trades or beginning to save money, partying, having a good time, traveling, and everybody was on a relatively similar playing field, and we were all miserable and happy at the same time every day because we hated work but we loved the weekend. We hated doing our jobs but we loved that we could travel with the money. We hated the fact that we weren't moving forward and had a clear plan for our future, but we loved the fact that we could go get drunk and, you know, nothing mattered because we were super present in that moment when we were out of our minds. But I look at these same people now who are mates who are 30 now, that have been working in jobs for 10 or 15 years that they don't enjoy. I'm 34 now, so what am I saying? Like 35-year-old mates. They haven't invested any money. Their incomes haven't grown because they haven't invested in themselves, in their careers. They're miserable and they're still looking for the weekends, and they're still talking about the best holidays that we did 10, 15 years ago, and they're still looking towards the future like it's going to solve their problems, like when they buy a house or when they get this car or when they achieve this in their career, or if only their income would grow a little bit. And I'm just sitting there, and at 35, the gap has started to grow between here and here. And I know people that are 45, 55, 65, 75, and I can see that gap. And I don't want to go down that path personally because it looks like unhappiness and bitterness, and I don't want to die with the music in me personally. Now, I'm not sure if you can relate to this, but I'm just one of those people that is sick of making excuses for other people effectively. Like, how long are we going to wait? You know what I mean? Like, how long are you going to wait? What's going to actually get you out there having a crack at this stuff? So, people that are in the game think completely differently. Now, I'm going to tell you about this because I've gone through this game and I play it every single day. In the short term, it's shit. It's fucking shit. And that's the reality of playing the game. You don't know what you're doing when you get started. You don't know who the players are in the game and what their roles are, and you don't understand poor advice. You get burnt because you don't know what you don't know. There's this huge amount of information missing to make really high quality decisions. You know, it's like a kid starting to play a sport. You scruff up your knees, you get hurt. I did skateboarding, soccer, surfing growing up, and in all of those things I absolutely sucked until I sort of didn't. And like, you know, most of those things I still suck today. Like, I never really got past that amateur level in any of those things, but I treat it like I treat it like I'm a pro. So in the short term, being in the game sucks. I've lost like countless nights of sleep. I was so stressed out a few years ago from a decision that I'd made that I literally lost like 10 kilos in 3 weeks just from stress. I feel uncomfortable all the time. Most of the time I don't know what the hell I'm doing, you know, in terms of starting out in the game. Not now. Now I've got a completely clear strategy and I understand the rules. And now it's just unconscious activity. I'm just responding and moving through it at my own pace in the way that I want to do it. But at the start, it sucks. If you're just getting started now, the next 10 years are going to suck. The next year to 2 years when you start taking action is going to suck even more. And the marketplace burns people that suck at it. It's like you don't get chosen for rep sport, or you don't get chosen for A grade if you're not an A grade player. And if you do somehow slip through the cracks, if you've got the wrong strategy or you're not good at what you do, over time the marketplace sifts through those people very quickly. Now, most people have a little crack in the game. Their short term doesn't achieve what they wanted to achieve, and then they go back to not being in the game because they got burnt, or because they lost a little bit of money, or because the market turned on them, or because, you know, for example, I could have jumped across there when my granny flat burnt down. I could have jumped across there when one of my tenants became an ice addict and stopped paying me rent. I could have jumped across there when I got some really bad advice and lost $40,000 in 1 year from one deal when I was only earning $80,000 per year before tax. I could have jumped across here when I started to have children or started businesses or got busy, but I didn't. I kept on the path because I remember watching that movie or documentary, The Secret, and whatever people say about it, that's completely cool. Like, everyone's got an opinion. Most of my stuff is just like based on other people's stuff, because I realize that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's hundreds or thousands of examples of millionaires out there that you can just directly copy what they're doing effectively. But in The Secret, there was this beautiful thing where they said, most people are here. It's kind of like the root about to pop through the soil. Now, most people sit here, they're just about ready. And this is where people sitting in the game in the short term are. They're just about there, the results are just about to show, and then they jump across here, where I just continued to persevere because I saw that DVD when I was like 22, and I recognized that if I just continued, it would be like that. And Ryan from On Property has this beautiful way of describing it, which he got from Seth Godin, and that concept is the flywheel. Now, the flywheel is a huge concrete wheel that effectively has been used for electricity generation all over the world. Now, the flywheel is hard to get started. In fact, you could push and push and push and push for days, months, years, and nothing happens. Like, this is the concept of the flywheel, not the reality. Obviously, these days it's like, get a bigger machine in, get the wheel started, done. Or let the wheel go mechanically. But back in the old days, Took a lot of effort to get this thing started, just like it takes a lot of effort to get a plane in the air. But once it starts, it's a lot easier to fly the plane, or it's a lot easier for the flywheel to build momentum until you almost can't stop it and it will run forever on its own merit. Now, what happens when you're in the game long term is that every single thing in your life starts to change. When you can start making choices based on your value system and what you truly want to do with your life, everything changes. When you start realizing what your values are, for me, my values are this simple: spending time with family and friends, doing work that I love and helping other people, and looking after my mind, my body, and my spirit, as well as having a really, really good time and enjoying this journey, just in case I don't get a second chance on it. So, being in the game long term, when you start to make better decisions, recognize that the future is not this mystical being that's going to make everything better. The only thing you can control is today, and if you show up as your best version that you can on that day and live each moment to moment and kick some ass in that moment, then the future is genuinely, if you're making better decisions consistently over time, going to look better down the line. Now, for me, being in the game has helped me drop my kids off at school every day, work 4 to 4.5 days a week, buy caravans when I want to buy them, buy my dream home walking distance to the beach, drive a nice car that allows me to get from A to B, have the nice surfboard or the nice holidays when I want to do it. But that is not the reason for being in the game, and I honestly am so grateful but could not give a shit about that stuff. What I care about is the dropping my kids at school, working the 4.5 days a week, taking 6 to 8 weeks of holidays per year, working with incredible people every day and allowing my passion to come through me in my work for property, learning constantly and growing constantly and getting to trial and error things and living a life on purpose, surfing with my friends, training with my friends, doing yoga every morning, like actually living my life the way that I want to live it, and being in the game and creating an extra income stream, which property has allowed me to do, which takes the pressure off me having to go work like everyone else does. Not always, but right now, not having to work in the same way that everyone else does and making better decisions and choices means that being in the game long term just gets easier and easier and better. Now, making quality decisions, like I don't go to work anymore, I just come and do what I enjoy. Or getting to spend the time in the morning with my kids and dropping them to school, or taking them to swimming lessons or whatever, or like just getting to hang out with them. Like my wife's going away this weekend, I'm taking Friday, Saturday, Sunday to just chill with the kids, and having that like luxury, or I'm so grateful for it in my life. It's just incredible. So I highly recommend that regardless of where you are right now, you either consider getting in the game, or just recognize that the future is not going to look any better than your day does right now. In fact, this is probably the best it's ever going to be, and it's probably going to be worse, because people that don't give it a crack don't get anything in life, and the world rewards people that take action. Now, I've bought 12 investment properties myself, and I can honestly say that I completely stuffed up. I'd like to say something harsher than that, but I understand there's people with kids listening to this. Completely stuffed up at least 7, maybe even 8 of those decisions based on what I know now. But those properties that I didn't make the best decisions on have been sold. They've enabled me to pay off my own home outright at 32 years, 33 years of age. They've enabled me to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And they've enabled me to learn so that from 34 until I'm 100, I can make better decisions and help other people make better decisions. So regardless of where you are, it's temporary. At any time you can jump from being not in the game to being in the game. And all it takes is a few minor tweaks. One of my favorite quotes from Jim Rohn is, just have an apple a day. You know what I mean? Like, that's a concept that's been forgotten. I remember my mum hammering it into me back in the old days when I was growing up, but have an apple a day. And the way that Jim says it in his weird little voice, he's like, it's just an apple a day. Like, who can't eat an apple a day? Who can't watch one of these videos a day, and over the course of a year you've watched 365 and your entire understanding around property investing has changed? Who can't go and read information and realize that, you know, people that have successfully invested in assets over the last 200 years have been exponentially better off than people that have been out of the market? You know, it's not rocket science buying properties. You can listen to our 2 Properties to Financial Freedom strategy. You can listen to a video I recently recorded called The Holy Grail of Investing, where I talk about buying metro markets, houses, properties with potential for growth, properties with potential for cash flow, and you can take some of these ideas and you can go and do it on your own, or you can potentially partner with someone like us and, you know, walk through this journey with somebody who actually cares about where you are and where you want to be. So get into the game. Trust me, it's way more fun. It's also really scary. Some days, some years can be really turbulent, but what else are you going to do with your time? You know, you may as well give it a crack. So please jump over to my website, www.pumpedonproperty.com. Let's book in a strategy session and let's get off the fence and into one side of the game or the other. Now, I've got mates that just fully know that they're just not in the game for their life. That's it. Like, they've just written it off. The best times are behind them. They're going to end up broken on the pension. The only cool shit that they get to do is when they hang out with cool people around them. You know, the day-to-day grind of their life is just so miserable for me to look at, but they're some of my best mates and I'm always going to be there for them. But then there's all of these incredible people that I get to talk to and work with in this business, as well as heaps of my other mates that did jump across to being in the game with me, whether that was businesses, stocks, their careers, bonds, cryptocurrency, online businesses, offline businesses, or just jumping really into their family life and looking after that and recognizing that, hey, this is all just one big adventure and having fun. It is so much better. So book a one-on-one strategy session. Let's talk about where you are. Regardless of where you are, we can talk about where you can get to potentially in the future. We can educate you on the market. We can talk about if property's right or wrong for you. We can talk about, is it the right time to buy or the wrong time to buy? Which market looks good? Which ones to completely avoid? Make a bit of a plan and then you can go and do that on your own. Or maybe we can talk about how we can work together. But I truly wish you all the best, and I just want to shake this camera because I really want you to get that this is so important, regardless of your age and where you're starting right now. It is now time to make a decision, because if it's all easy now, it's going to be real hard longer term. And if it's real hard now because you're actually having a crack, I can promise you after 10 years of doing this, it's going to get easier. And it's going to become fun, and you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to grow. And that growth is going to enable you to do things that you're thinking are impossible now in a day. You know, I wish I could say that my own journey has been like being in the game or at different stages not being in the game, but the reality is, like, I started from absolutely nothing. When my parents were saving for a deposit for a home, we lived in a caravan for 3 years growing up. You know, I wasn't born in like the rich dad family where the mindset was good, as well as like they knew what to do with money. Like, my mum and dad were just trying to figure their stuff out as well. And so I had to educate myself on all of this stuff, and I've had to trial and error it because there wasn't these YouTube videos, there wasn't the podcast like the Pumped On Property Show, there wasn't epic little Facebook videos where you could get ideas from the best people in the world. There were just books from these old grinders that had these old ways of thinking about things, like you should buy heaps of properties and you should leverage hard and you should borrow money as soon as you can get it, and just all these old school, you know, deadly ways of investing today, in my opinion, based on where the marketplace is at now and where it's going in the future. And what I've learned just from trial and error all the way through, and having periods of time where I had to sit on the sidelines and not be in the game for years because I didn't have any more potential to borrow money, or I was starting a business, or I was losing an income because my wife was going on maternity leave, or I was just suffering with anxiety and didn't have the energy to be able to actually do anything and get myself out of that headspace for a period of time. You know, I can say that all of that stuff that's happened to me and all of the stuff that's happened to you or your family, or the values and beliefs that you're brought up with, or the way you think about money now, can all change. It can all just be left over here, and everything can change for the better. And in terms of my life, I'm just so grateful that I've slowly taken quality actions over time to get myself and my family into a better position. And we're not financially free yet. Like, I'm still working on that. It's still going to take me time, but I have a clear vision for where I'd like to be in the future. And I'm doing the work on a daily, weekly, yearly basis that makes me happy, that will also get there because of smart decisions over time. So I wish you all the best. You know, go out there and do what's important for you. There's some incredible quotes on this sort of stuff. One of my favorite is the Roosevelt quote around, you know, people that get in the arena and actually have a crack and what the benefit of their life looks like because of it. You are gonna fail doing it this way because there's not as many people doing it this way. Probably 1 to maybe 10% of people are doing it this way, and everyone else is living for right now in a way that makes them feel very happy today because they're not actually being challenged or doing anything, but is gonna make things a lot harder down the line. And unfortunately, I speak to people that are 65, 75, 55 every day of the week. And at 55, it's not too late to give it a crack, but it is so much easier if you're starting at 30, 40, 45 to get things started and to have that time that you need to actually set yourself up properly without taking crazy amounts of risk. So I wish you all the best. I hope you like this rant. It's gone for a lot longer than I expected it to, but I wish you all the best. Have a bit of fun with it. Stop sitting on the freaking fence and get stuck in. If you haven't already done so, give us a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check out the podcast, The Pumped on Property Show. I wish you all the best no matter what you're gonna do, and hope that you come onto the dark side of the fence where not everyone is, so that you can live a life filled with exactly what you want it to be in the future, and you can design exactly how you see things your way.